You're not chasing, you're not explaining yourself, you're not begging for attention, validation, or approval anymore. People think you've become cold, but the truth is, you've just become calm. And in today's chaotic world, calm is the new power. If you've felt different lately, more focused, more grounded, even a little detached, you might be transforming into something rare, a Stoic alpha. Here are 7 signs you're becoming one, and don't even realize it. Stoicism isn't about growing a beard, wearing a toga, or quoting Marcus Aurelius. It's about inner power, real strength, dominance over your emotions, not others. And when that shift starts to happen, everything around you changes too. So if you relate to these 7 signs, it's time to stop doubting yourself. You're not cold, you're evolving. Sign 1. You no longer react. You respond. There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes that not every insult deserves a response, not every emotional storm needs a reaction. That moment is when you begin to transform. You stop being a slave to your impulses. Instead of reacting with fire, you respond with focused firepower. A woman pulls away, tests you with silence, or throws mixed signals. You don't beg, chase, or crumble. You observe, you breathe, you stay grounded. That's not weakness, it's mastery. You've learned that emotional restraint isn't repression, it's discipline. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." You're no longer trying to dominate the world. You're conquering the only battlefield that matters, the one within. Picture a man walking through a storm. Others are panicking, running, screaming, but he keeps walking, calm, focused. That's emotional sovereignty, that's masculine stillness, that's the Stoic alpha. Not moved by chaos, not shaken by rejection, not broken by disrespect. You don't just keep it together, you become unshakable. And in a world that profits off emotional overreaction, that makes you a dangerous man. Sign 2. You've become dangerous in silence. There comes a moment in a man's life when he realizes, not everything needs to be said. You stop trying to prove yourself. You no longer announce your goals, your progress, or your plans. You simply execute. While others are screaming for validation, you operate in silence. And that silence, it's heavy, it's powerful. It makes people nervous because they can't predict you. And what they can't predict, they fear. In today's world, men are addicted to broadcasting, posting every minor win, arguing over nothing, showing their cards before the game has even begun. But you've withdrawn from that noise. You've entered a season of solitude, not because you're weak, but because you're becoming precise, like a blade being forged in fire, quiet, focused, dangerous. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's your energy now. You're not arguing anymore. You're becoming. And that quiet evolution, that unseen transformation, it's the most lethal thing about you. Sign 3. You're no longer attracted to chaos. Remember that toxic woman who once consumed your thoughts, who could ignite your emotions with just a glance, who kept you locked in a cycle of passion, confusion, and pain. There was a time when her chaos felt intoxicating. Her unpredictability thrilled you. Her silence made you restless. Her attention made you feel alive, but not anymore. Now, the same drama that used to light your fire, it feels empty, predictable, exhausting. You no longer crave the highs and lows. You've stopped confusing intensity with intimacy. You've grown. And with that growth comes clarity. A deep masculine craving for peace over adrenaline. Where you once chased wild emotions, now you protect your energy like a warrior guarding his fortress. You've learned that calm isn't weakness, it's control, it's power. You sit back and observe instead of reacting. You walk away from the storm instead of trying to survive it. And that shift, that quiet detachment, it's liberation. As Seneca said, most powerful is he who has himself. In his own power, Stoic Alpha doesn't need chaos to feel alive. He creates warmth from within, disciplined, grounded, unshakable. Because true strength isn't found in chasing flames, it's in becoming the fire. Sign 4. You're obsessed with discipline, not motivation. You've stopped waiting for the stars to align, for the right mood, or that magical burst of inspiration to finally kick in. You don't need a hype video blaring in your ears, some guru screaming at you through a screen, or 1,000 likes to validate your effort. Why? Because you've finally understood the hard truth. Motivation is a liar. It whispers promises in the heat of the moment and disappears when things get cold, hard, and real. Now you just do the damn work. Whether it's lacing up your shoes for a 6 a.m. workout while the rest of the world sleeps, or sitting alone in a quiet room, staring your demons in the face, refusing to flinch. You choose the hard path, skipping parties to build your legacy, saying no to short-term pleasure that would only weaken your future self. The dopamine hit of comfort doesn't interest you anymore. What drives you now is discipline, unsexy, silent, brutal discipline. Day in, day out. This isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, especially when you don't feel like it, because that's when it counts the most. Discipline isn't just something you have now, it's who you are. And in this transformation, you've grasped what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That strength? It's not coming, it's not a feeling. It's you, right now, showing up with blood in your knuckles and purpose in your chest. Sign 5. You're comfortable being alone and unavailable. Most men panic in the presence of silence. They scroll endlessly, chase shallow connections, or run toward noise just to avoid facing themselves. But you've learned to walk through the storm of solitude and come out stronger. You don't just tolerate being alone, you thrive in it. Because for you, solitude isn't punishment, it's purification. It's where distractions die and purpose is born. You no longer chase friendships that drain you, or women who only love the idea of you. You've stopped contorting yourself to fit into conversations that no longer stimulate your mind or circles that feel like cages. That desperate need to belong, it's gone. Because you finally belong to yourself. And now, your presence carries weight. When you walk into a room, people notice. Not because you're loud, but because you're rare. Your attention is no longer a charity. It's earned. It's something others must rise to meet. You've become like a mountain, still, grounded, unshakable. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." That's your fortress now. And the man who is at peace alone is the man no one can control. Sign 6. You choose logic over lust. You've stopped letting raw desire dictate your destiny. You no longer crumble at the sight of a seductive smile or the sound of a soft voice whispering sweet poison into your ear. You've grown past the phase where a pretty face could make you forget your mission. Because now, you see, you don't just look at a woman's beauty, you assess her character. You don't just hear her words, you read between them. You observe, you calculate, you wait. Lust used to lead you into traps, relationships that drained your energy, distracted your mind, and destroyed your focus. You remember those moments, don't you? The mornings you woke up next to someone you barely knew, wondering how you let it happen again. The times you ignored the red flags because the passion was too intense to walk away. And what did it cost? You? Time, peace, self-respect. The Stoics weren't blind to this danger. Epictetus warned, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastery begins where impulse ends. You've realized that desire is the ultimate bait, and you're no longer biting. Because an empire doesn't fall by force, it falls through distraction, seduction, and weakness disguised as love. You've chosen discipline over dopamine, wisdom over impulse, logic over lust. And that's where a man's true power begins. Sign 7. You live by your principles, not popularity. You don't twist your beliefs to suit the crowd. You don't water down your truth just to be liked. While others chase digital applause, likes, shares, shallow compliments, you remain rooted, unmoved. In a world addicted to trends and terrified of being canceled, you've chosen a path few dare to walk: integrity. When a man stands firm in what he believes, when he refuses to betray his values for a moment of attention, he becomes dangerous. Why? Because he cannot be controlled. You know exactly who you are, and that unsettles people. You walk into a room and don't need to speak to command respect. Your energy speaks louder than approval ever could. And while modern culture pressures men to be more agreeable, more submissive, more palatable, you've chosen the harder road. You've chosen to be clear in your thoughts, unwavering in your morals, and courageous in your expression. You don't play the chameleon. You're not here to blend in. You're here to stand out for the right reasons. And that makes you a threat to weak men who cave at the first sign of conflict. A threat to manipulative women who can't bend your will. A threat to a society that worships comfort, conformity, and cowardice. But a Stoic alpha doesn't live to be liked. He lives to be true. Conclusion. If what you heard here struck a chord deep inside, if you found yourself nodding in silent agreement as these 7 signs unfolded, then it's time. Time to stop hiding your growth behind excuses or doubt. It's time to stop shrinking, to fit into a world that demands weakness. Step fully, unapologetically into the man you are becoming. Picture this, a man standing tall, unshaken by the storms around him. His presence alone commands respect, not because he shouts louder or shows off, but because his quiet strength is undeniable. That's the man you're evolving into. So, hit that subscribe button now, because on this channel, we don't settle for mediocrity. We don't play small. We rise, we level up through hard-earned philosophy, relentless discipline, and raw, unfiltered truth. Remember, becoming a Stoic alpha isn't about crushing others beneath your heel. No, it's far greater. It's about liberation. Freedom from the fear that keeps you awake at night. Freedom from the chains of emotional slavery. Freedom from a chaotic world that feeds off your weaknesses. So the next time someone says you've changed, tell them this with conviction. I didn't change, I returned to who I was before the world told me to be soft. That man, that is a force no one can stop.